Thanks, Jesse, and thanks everyone for attending. As we go through this, if there are any questions, just feel free to put it into the chat. We may answer them on the spot, or we may, save them for the end. But feel free, as we go through this, to put in any questions that you have into the chat. So the focus of today is to go through the QuickBooks integration. We'll talk a little bit. There might be some people that aren't too familiar with us as a company. We'll go into our company a little bit. We'll go into the integration functionality, the benefits, and then we'll do a demo. So Fay Business Systems has been around, for quite a while. 25 plus years. We've been partnered with Sugar for about 11 or so years. I've personally been with the company for 9 years. We've grown quite a bit over the years. When I started, we were probably under 10 employees, and now we're probably closer to 60. So we provide we're kind of a turnkey one-stop shop for everything related to CRM and customer experience software. We're an elite partner with Sugar. We have offices all across the country, and now we have offices globally as well. We also do some custom software development, and we have rich ecosystem of add-ons in the Sugar ecosystem. So QuickBooks is by far our most popular because it's the most widely used accounting software package in the world, and because it is the widely used, it's also one of our more robust integrations because we have probably 100 plus customers using the two in conjunction. And so we've extended the integration. We've added a lot of functionality. We've actually extended the functionality of Sugar as well. These are just a list of our add-ons. Sugar also has what they call Sugar Integrate, and there's Sugar Exchange. Sugar Integrate is their integration platform as a service. These are some of the add-ons that we have developed. We've done a lot of work with accounting systems over the years. And like I said, QuickBooks is the most popular one. We work with QuickBooks Online and the desktop versions as well. We also have a mobile app that's built on top of the Sugar mobile app that extends some of the Sugar mobile functionality for geo-mapping, calendar, and other things as well. So the integration, it does quite a bit. So it's a bi-directional sync. It can keep your customers in sync. It can sync on all of your sales history for reporting purposes, and also for the ability to create workflows based off of the data coming from QuickBooks. It also, through the QuickBooks Online connector, it's sort of automatic. It syncs through the API of QuickBooks. So the desktop versions, there's a web connector that gets installed that talks to Sugar. Sugar will get updated from QuickBooks your pricing and your inventory and things like that. So if you sell products and services and you wanted to see that in Sugar, want to do quotes off of that, you could do that as well. And you can do a quote inside of Sugar and send it over to an invoice or a sales order inside of QuickBooks. So it gives you the ability, also if you have your salespeople doing orders in QuickBooks, they can actually, we can pull them out of there and start to do those inside of Sugar. So some of the benefits that we've seen is it eliminates a lot of the double entry. So, if you're doing your quotes in the CRM and you don't have it linked up into QuickBooks, that's typically would be a manual process to get that quote transferred over into a sales order. Say you have people in accounting that you want, that you don't have in Sugar, and you want to give them access, give the sales reps access to the notes inside of QuickBooks. We can map all those fields into Sugar, so that there's, it kind of eliminates the need for back and forth between accounting and sales. And with that, you can decrease potentially your QuickBooks licenses. Your product inventory is available not only inside of Sugar, but it can be available on the fly in your mobile, in the mobile app as well. So if you have mobile salespeople, knowing that, COVID is kind of impacting that at this point, but at some point, we'll get back to that. And so once you have, mobile reps, they can have access to all this QuickBooks data, not only the sales history, but also inventory and products and things like that. And lastly, before we get into the demo, and we'll show you some of this, we've extended the functionality of Sugar. So we'll now get into that. So this is SugarCRM. If you've never seen Sugar before, I'm assuming most people have, and that's why you're attending the integration demo. But if you've never seen Sugar before, this is the dashboard section of Sugar. So the way that dashboards work is each individual user can have access to their own dashboard. Say you have a finance dashboard, you want to have a sales dashboard, a marketing dashboard. The dashboards are comprised of individual dashlets. Dashlets, and this is information that could be CRM information. It can be information that is pulling from outside applications like QuickBooks as well. And as you see here, you can pretty much create a dashlet based off of any data inside of Sugar. So here is an unpaid invoices dashlet. Here is the top customers based off of sales history. One of the things that we do through the integration is we roll up all of your invoices into a yearly number. So you can track yearly sales and, configure workflows and things off that as well. One of the more popular things that we get requests for is doing workflows. This is Sugar's workflow engine, doing workflows based off of the data that's coming in from QuickBooks. And so this is a popular one in terms of, open invoices, reminders for finance if things aren't paid. Another popular one that we've done for a lot of our clients is if no one's been invoiced within an X amount of time, the sales rep can get a task or get an alert to reach out to them, to see kind of what's going on, why they haven't purchased anything in a while, that sort of thing as well. So we can trigger automation based off of data coming from QuickBooks or also lack of data. So if there hasn't been an invoice processed in a year, that could trigger something to happen in Sugar, whether it's a communication internally to review or communication externally to your customer as well, because there are email templates that you could use that can be associated with the automation component of Sugar. This is called Sugar BPM. It is available in their Sugar Cell edition, the Sugar Serve, as well as Sugar Enterprise. And it's very popular, and it's really popular for sales reps too, because it's helping them monitor the activity that normally they would have to manually monitor in the solution. You can also track things like open balance as well as product sales as well. So that's kind of the dashboards section of Sugar. Next, we're going to just touch on the account and go into a specific account. So wherever you are in Sugar as it relates to the module, this is what's called a list view. So it's kind of like, a grid view comparable to something like you would see in Excel with lots of power to do all sorts of filtering. You can create filters basically on any module, whether it's accounts, opportunities, quotes, what have you, off of the data inside of Sugar. You can save those filters and then come back to them at any time as well. So say you wanted to have a filter for those that haven't purchased anything, or if you want to have a filter for those that were over a certain amount year to date. It can be multi-layered as well. So you can come into a save filter and add other things to it as well. So you have a high credit limit or a low credit limit or whatever it is. You can kind of add these different filters at any time. When we go into a specific account record, you'll see this is kind of what they call the record view. So this is when you go into a record. There's three main components to a record view. There is what's called the business card view. And as you can see here, we have tabs on this account, which is very popular. We do it for a lot of our clients. So if you wanted to have a sales tab, a marketing tab, a finance tab, it gives you, if you have a lot of fields, it kind of gives you a better feel from which tab you want to navigate through. And then instead of having all the fields on one screen and having it go all the way down the screen, you can have tabs and just sort of navigate on the same part of the screen that you were in the first place. You can see here on the accounting tab, there's year-to-date sales, there's credit limit, there's open balance. We also can designate whether or not they're on credit hold. That could also trigger out automation and workflow, things like that as well. It is bidirectional in the sense that if you create an account inside of Sugar, if you want to give your reps the ability to create a new customer, you can do that. You can also turn it off in the administration settings as well. These fields, we can they can be Sugar fields, or they can also be read-only QuickBooks fields that are sending data over based on, say you want to sync over the notes field in QuickBooks. That can be displayed on the SugarCRM records, so the reps have access to all that data, and they wouldn't need access to QuickBooks to see it. Below, you'll see sort of standard things like the contacts associated with the company, all the different sales transactions. Sales transactions you can actually drill into. And you could actually see all the information directly on that transaction. You can also see the line items and what everything was sold for. You'd also be able to search these invoice numbers and things like that through the global search as well. And there's also the ability to track bill and payment lines if that's a need as well. So when looking at the account, and then the right-hand panel, below the record view is everything that relates to this account. So all the different contacts, sales transactions, product sales history. If you have multiple ship tos, we can sync those directly into here as well. Quotes, we'll go into that in a second. And then Sugar is very flexible, so if you do a lot of quotes and you want that at the top of your screen, you can just drag it to where you want as well on a user-by-user basis. The right-hand panel is basically a dashboard for this account. It's called the intelligence pane. The intelligence pane, you can set up basically, an individual dashboard. You can have multiple dashboards as well that you can toggle back, but it's basically kind of a quick snapshot of everything that's going on with this account. So there's sales history, what are they buying? Do we have any existing opportunities? Do we have anything planned on this account in terms of activity? Has there been any historical meetings, calls, emails logged, that sort of thing as well. So next we'll go into the quoting capability. So Sugar has a quoting tool that can integrate. It can be used standalone, and you can do quotes, and you can print them out to PDF. You can set up your own templates and things like that, or you can have it integrated with QuickBooks. If it's integrated, Sugar will give you the ability to pull in your product list and add those products and services to a quote. You'll notice here the green and red. This informs you whether or not these inventory items exist inside of QuickBooks and have valid inventory. At the right-hand panel right here, you'll see a bunch of different, these are folders. These are basically Sugar's product catalog on a dashlet here. I like it because it gives you the ability to really quickly add something to a quote, drill into these folders, and then you have subfolders and things, subcategories and things like that as well. And then once you find something that you want to add to the quote, you can just click on it. You have the ability to do that. And so with our integration, as I mentioned in the PowerPoint deck, we have extended the functionality inside of Sugar. So there's a bunch of different modules and things like that that can work with the quotes. So if you wanted to do product quantity pricing, so if you set up brackets of say 1 to 10 gets this pricing, 10 to 20 gets this pricing, that can all be set up. We can also pull that information if you have advanced inventory functionality inside of Sugar. And as you're adding the quantities, Sugar will automatically update the pricing to reflect what those quantity pricing brackets are. You can also have product quantity pricing category brackets. You could also do it based off of customer-specific pricing as well. We've also added in zip code tax rate functionality and all sorts of different things that we've extended in the product over the years. The great thing about working with us and this integration is we don't need to reinvent the wheel. We have a package that will automatically install through Sugar's module loader, will automatically install everything, all the functionality, all the different fields and modules directly into Sugar in a matter of minutes. So it's one of those things where sales history, salespeople, this pricing, all of this stuff doesn't need to get recreated every time. It just gets installed with a package, and that allows us to keep the implementation costs of the integration, relatively low, and the total cost of ownership, relatively low. Through the integration, we have the ability also to sync quotes to sales orders. You basically have the ability to determine how you want that to go. So as you can see here on the stages, there's draft, negotiation, pending. Typically, you'll want to have some stages on the quote that are relevant, that may not be relevant for QuickBooks, but are relevant to the salesperson and the sales management. So if you're in negotiation, it's important to know, but once you're ready to send it off, you can determine where you want it to go in QuickBooks. Now, as a company, you can say you only want them to go to sales orders. You can remove, the other values and make it so that it only goes to sales orders or invoices. QuickBooks Online has no concept of sales orders, so typically in that package, this option won't even be there. You can have it go over one of two ways. You can either have it trigger a workflow for someone in accounting to approve it, or it can automatically go into QuickBooks as a sales order or an invoice as well. Either way, once you click save, that'll either initiate some sort of approvals, or it'll initiate the actual sales order to get created directly in QuickBooks. And that's one of the things where, say you have a quote with 12 lines on it, that's a decent amount of duplication efforts if the CRM is not integrated. If you're not a company that does kind of line item quotes, there's still a ton of value in the QuickBooks integration because it's pulling in all of your sales history and sales data, that the reps will want to have access to anyway. And through, we can also do, unpaid invoice reminders. You can do products upsell. So if they buy a product in a specific category and it's related to another category, and you want to create an opportunity for that, you can create those automation for, automating opportunities as well. Outside of that, we do bring in all the products into the Sugar product catalog, and then through the admin panel, another thing that we've done is we've made it so that all of the integration changes can be done directly inside of Sugar and not in some sort of outside platform. So this is something where only admins can see. So for example, show you a couple things. We have mapping built in directly into the Sugar interface. So if you wanted to make changes, because we've made this mappable and user-friendly, if you wanted to make changes to this, you wouldn't necessarily have to come back to us. Say you added a new field in QuickBooks and you wanted to sync it to a field you made in Sugar. Once the implementation's been done, or say as part of the implementation, this could all be done, and it wouldn't require us, any development costs or things like that. So we've built in a lot of functionality directly into Sugar to give you the ability and give you the power to make changes as you see fit. And this is the customer's mapping, but you can basically map for any of our syncs directly through here as well. So that's one thing we've also extended inside of Sugar. Although that specific portion is simple, you still would want to have us actually do the implementation itself, because there is a lot of moving parts. You want to make sure that someone that's doing it understands both QuickBooks and Sugar, which we do. All of these integration configuration options can be checked in, turned on, or turned off. Because we've had this integration for, close, I don't want to say 10 years, but close to probably 8 years, we've had a ton of different advanced configurations on this. So for example, if you wanted to do a custom mapping for your customers, say you wanted to map, you don't want to map based on the account names, but you want to map based off of some sort of unique ID, like a customer number. We give you the ability to kind of map and sync up the data based off of anything, any fields inside of Sugar and QuickBooks. There's all sorts of different advanced configuration options, and there's all sorts of advanced functions as well. So for example, if you've been operating as a business for 40 years, but things have evolved and you only want to sync things back 10 years, we give you the ability to, not have to sync everything from the beginning of time. We can also selectively sync based off of date ranges and things like that as well. We also have logs built into our integration just in case maybe an invoice doesn't sync or something like that. We will know, just be able to tell by looking at the logs, what type of data, what type of sync issues there are, if any, that sort of thing as well. There is an annual cost associated to the integration, but with that, you get all of our updates, any new functionality we create, that sort of thing as well, and you do get support. So if there's anything that's not working, you reach out to us, we'll respond within the same day, and that's all included in the annual cost. That's all we had for the demo. I'll quickly just kind of recap. These are some of the main benefits. The double entry, it really helps with that. You can do a lot of automation pulling in from the QuickBooks data. You can eliminate double entry from QuickBooks, but also from Sugar as it relates to quotes and sales orders. And lastly, you can potentially, if you have your salespeople in QuickBooks, you could also decrease the need for those licenses as well. Jesse, I'll leave it to you to see if there are any questions.